Welcome to the group chat with Tara Thomas and Amanda Goodman of Faith and Four-Letter Words.
We made it to Wednesday, hump day. I'm Tara Thomas.
And I'm Amanda Goodman. Thanks so much for joining us for the group chat. It is it's not spring here ever. Spring is never coming. It is like 36 degrees here. And I don't know, I like starting with the time and temperature. Feels very much, we're getting right back in our old stomping grounds.
Falling back into the old routine. The famous Time to Make the Donuts commercial from the 80s always comes to mind when you're like up and you're going through the motions and you're like, I have to do my whole morning routine once again. You know, I mean, and it never ends. And it's like so crazy how so many people say that young people, because of all the products and all the things, like they have probably way more elaborate routines than we ever did at that age.
Oh, we didn't have a routine. We were using Noxzema.
I just slapped on some Bonnieville astringent. And then your eyes are burning.
And then if it was burning, it was working. It was kind of like when we used to throw like some bleach on our hair, or, in my case, when you threw the old bleach on the mustache. I was like a burly child, like I'm the Italian kid, and I had how to bleach the mustache growing up. I did want to, I heard something fun, and I wanted to ask you about this. First of all, happy birthday, 13th birthday to your niece, Ava.
Yes. Ava
happy
May.
Birthday. That is 13 is a big deal.
It really is. And she's turned into, as kids do at that age, like 13 going on 25,
I love that. I'm sure your sister's going through it right now with the teenager, but I read your mom's post for her this morning, and I think they share a very special bond. So that's beautiful. That's beautiful. And it was very reminiscent of the bond that I shared with my grandmother. Yes. So I loved watching that. So I did want to say, I was talking to a young mom, a new mom, fresh mom, and she was talking to me about, she's like, it's her first Mother's Day. And so she's very excited. And she's like, we're going to go to brunch and we're going to do a family walk. And I was like, that sounds like torture. And she looked at me, her face dropped. I said, no, I'm so sorry. Because I think moms who've been in the game for a while, and I'm not speaking for everybody, I'm not leaving my house. Please sew me to my couch. I'm not putting on 1 ounce of makeup. I'm not washing my hair. I'm not doing my hair. I'm not putting on a bra. I'm not leaving. I'm going to morph into Shrek. I don't want to talk. I don't want to, when people say, I want to be left alone on Mother's Day. It's not that I want to be like alone by myself. I want my family around me. I just don't want anybody talking to me or asking me a question. Like, don't ask me what's for dinner. What do you want? Figure it out.
Well, and it is true that the older we get, the more we sometimes appreciate the
silence.
And yes, that's so true. And it's so weird how everyone eventually becomes their parents, where you're like, loud noises will be disruptive. Whereas when we were young, we were like, turn it up. And I remember distinctly in the car all those years back in the 1900s, where I would think, I don't want to be that mom who makes the kids turn the music down. You always tell yourself that. And then now you're just like, I had to wear earplugs to the Kendrick Lamar concert.
Yeah, no, well, I will walk into our family room and I'm like, that TV is way too loud. Put it down to 9. I need it on 9, like single digits. Like it's very much, but I just think it's such a ripoff that moms get May, like the busiest month next to December. We get May.
That's a good point that I hadn't thought of.
We get May.
Now, our good friend Chris Carter would tell you that where they really did a disservice to dads is they put Father's Day during a month when the kids are no longer in school. And so he said that as a divorced single dad, when, his daughters were with him, no one was prompting them, get your dad a gift or do a homemade gift because they were out of school. And I thought that was a really good point. So at least right now,
we get the homemade gifts.
You get your kids
with the 17
being nudged by the teachers.
But with 17 band concerts, graduations, events, and all the other things. And I remember, do you remember in 2020 when it was COVID, right? So
that's right.
Once everything got really, then it was Father's Day. Like we could come out of the home and do all the things when Father's Day. But for Mother's Day, there was,
I can't go out. Sorry, you're not getting a gift.
You're not getting any. Well, and the thing that I don't know, if you have a May birthday, and my sister's birthday is May 9th. So my sister always has I think it falls on her birthday again this year. It's her birthday and Mother's Day in
Oh,
one.
It's
So
the
she gets
double
the
dip.
one recognition. So my husband, like Hector will roll his eyes. He's like, oh my God, April and May is such an expensive month. Listen, sir, listen. I didn't ask to be born near Mother's Day, right? They are two separate days. I
Yeah,
would like
we
to just
do.
be acknowledged accordingly on both days.
Yeah, we do have that weird, as those of you with the December birthdays can relate. You never want your birthday close to Christmas, just like our birthdays are, a week prior to Mother's Day. And what's interesting is my husband's birthday is the week before Father's Day. So
that's
it's like,
right.
so he has the double
whammy.
and then as do I. And so it's actually, for us, I think it's also, we, as we get older, we now, in my mind at least, I have shifted to, for me, Mother's Day is more about my mom, because with my mom being my only parent who's still living, it's like my energy and my enthusiasm is toward her. And so
That's
I'll
so
be
nice.
going to Peoria, my hometown, to spend Mother's Day with her. And I told my husband, I don't know, the other day, I said, as long as my mom is still here, I want to try to spend every Mother's Day with
that's
her,
so
And so that's something and I love then that it can just be like alone time with my mom and me, because my husband and Thomas will be here fighting while I'm gone.
That's hilarious. The referee is gone.
Now Dave did tell me that they'll probably go to Olive Garden because they both love a good fettuccine dipping bowl.
Olive Garden is good. I mean,
Alfredo sauce.
The
Alfredo dipping sauce. They have a special bond.
I don't do the Alfredo. Like I don't. Yeah.
It's an amazing. If those of you who know, if you love the Cheddar Bay biscuits, you probably love the Alfredo dipping sauce. And I don't like the Cheddar Bay biscuits at Red Lobster.
For that, which we miss Red Lobster. That was my birthday. Like So growing up in PA, I went to either Red Lobster or I went to Chi-Chi's.
Oh my gosh!
Remember
you had Chi-Chi's too?
Of course we had Chi-Chi's.
And here's what's sad. I remember when they came out with the sombrero.
With your birthday. Yeah.
I didn't like the fried ice cream as much as everybody else.
I hated the fried ice cream. And then when I found out what Chi-Chi's really meant in like English, I was like, wow, we go to
it's so I had no idea that. I guess I knew that was a chain.
Oh,
but I thought it was only a Midwestern chain.
Okay. It was very big on the East Coast, and they're coming back. Chi-Chi's is coming back. They are revitalizing. But my father hated Mexican food, so that's how my dad. I knew he loved me because he would sit through Mexican dinner. But I remember, Red Lobster, they had like the great birthday song. It was like, Red Lobster says hello to you and a happy birthday too. Oh yeah.
Are you serious? I don't think I've ever heard that one.
Yes, I used to get so excited when it was like, my birthday. But I don't know. I do for Mother's Day. I don't know what everyone's planning. All of our moms in the comments of the group chat. But the things that I like, when kids are like, what do you want? And I hate when somebody asks me, what do you want? Because I can get anything for myself. Okay. Mm-hmm. The part of a gift, it's like seeing this, like what people thought of you. It's kind of like when you give I love gift giving. Like that is I love it. And because I love seeing someone's reaction. So I love seeing like, what did you think of me? So Gia got me the best birthday gift. It was like, things I love about you, Mom. And it was like one of those fill in the blank books. And it was.
That's very special.
I just want to be told, like, give me a handwritten letter and I'll be fine.
I agree. So Charlotte, my daughter's a sophomore in college. She's very into graphic design and the arts. And so she did a hand painted card and then wrote an incredibly long and very just touching message. And that means the world as a mom when you get the handwritten note from the child. And what's really cool is she started a thing this school year with my mom where they have a letter writing exchange. That's where beautiful. Charlotte asks her a question. And then she tells my mom her answer to the question. And then my mom mails back an answer with another question for Charlotte. And this has gone on this entire school year. And my mom said that it has been so wonderful to learn so much about her granddaughter through the written word that you might not normally share when you're together.
Letter writing is such it's a lost art. And I wish we could go back to it because
I saved all my letters from my parents from college.
Yeah.
You talk about hilarious when we'll sit there and read them. I've read them out loud and we die because my mom will be like, my diet isn't going well. You know, that
That's
would
so
be
funny.
so like, as I'm reading these, you're like, oh, this is my life. Like we're going to turn into our parents.
I had a letter from my grandmother when I moved to Texas. And when I moved to Texas, I was very broke, very, very broke, because I was making minimum wage with a college degree. I was making $6.50 an hour to start our career. Tara also made much less than that when she started her news career. And I remember my grandmother, I had talked to her on the phone and I told her I was broke. So she sent me money, right? Via Western Union, because that's when it was big back then, right? Via Western Union.
Absolutely.
So then I got the handwritten letter from her.
Oh.
Now my grandmother offered to give me money. I didn't ask for it. She offered to give me money. Then she sent me the handwritten letter. I'm very happy that you're fulfilling your dream. However, and it was a cursive written, like, Sicilian woman telling me, I'm disappointed in you that you are not saving money. I mean, it was just this front and back. And then my grandmother, she had a photocopy of it. And so she kept the photocopy letter. So after she passed away, my uncle was going through it. And my mom's like, did you see this letter that your grandmother wrote you? Yeah, I still have it. I have
Oh my God.
Because it was fuel. Because when your grandma, like when my grandmother, she told me she was disappointed in me. And that was like a dagger to the heart. But then when she wrote it in a letter and then mailed it to me, then I knew she was really disappointed in me. But it's funny, like even that letter, because it was that was a way to stay connected in a different way. That wasn't, it's people tell you how they really feel when they can write it down.
That's very true. And they forget what they shared with you because, think of emails and how fleeting our world of digital engagement is. And so when you have those handwritten, the proof, the mementos, the evidence, I mean, it's so fun to go back and read it. And then you're like, I can't even remember the mindset I was in at that time to have said that or have shared that. It's
Right.
like you forget that that was important to you then.
Mm-hmm.
And I used to be a lot more intentional about doing journaling, and I really I morphed it into like an online blog that I would never share. And I've really gotten away from that. And I feel badly about that because it was a way that kind of replicated what we did with our blogs,
right?
Where we were really documenting all the ups and downs of being parents and all the things.
I write a lot and then I crumple it up. So I still get it all out. Because that's how you and I express ourselves, right?
Yes,
With the written word. And it's such a fleeting.
Yeah.
And that's why
it
just goes away. So that's, it is So Happy Joe's had the siren above you flashing. I'm sorry, when it's your birthday. That's hilarious.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Happy Joe's we had in my hometown.
I've never,
and
we didn't have that.
It is still around in the Dubuque area. It was an incredible pizza parlor and it had red and white stripes as wallpaper. My room had red and white striped wallpaper. So growing up, it was like my room looked like Happy Joe's and I had a big white dome, like ball of light hanging. The Happy Joe's addition to what she shared, you got to stand on the chair when all of Happy Joe's would sing happy birthday to you. And I remember,
entire restaurant. That's
and
so
I remember
nice.
being like 5 and I was of course tall for my age. And when I stood up on that chair and I towered over, it was like my first brush with recognition, taking the stage at Happy Joe's. That's when I was hooked.
Yeah.
Isn't that sad?
Yeah, I remember the Chuck E. Cheese parties where you had to sanitize. But the thing is back home, Chuck E. Cheese became the place where the adults would all fight. There'll be like all out brawls in the ball pit.
Isn't that crazy?
Of Chuck E. Cheese. I mean, it was like all out, like mafioso.
Oh,
coming head to head with each other in the ball pit of Chuck E. Cheese. So we stopped going to Chuck E. Cheese. But I love skee ball.
Oh, same. And I had the technique down where you would like hit the side, it ricochet off the side, and you could get it in the highest circle. Showbiz is what we had.
She said I had the technique.
Predating Chuck E. Cheese. And I'll never forget, I've talked about this before. This could never fly in today's world. They had a weight limit on the balls at Showbiz, and it said 105 pounds. And in 6th grade, when I was 5'6", and I was like tall for my age, now that's nothing, but I was very tall for my age. I weighed over 105. I remember I weighed like 107.
Sure.
And I remember being really hurt
Yeah.
that they were saying like I was too big to go in the balls. And now I laugh like sixth graders at 110, they're a dime a dozen.
Right. Yeah.
So I mean,
that's
you
not-
wouldn't have anybody be allowed to go in
No.
the balls.
That's really tiny.
Stay out the balls.
Stay out them balls. I had to bring up, this is a horrible segue that I'm doing, but have you seen the story? Have you seen the story of the alleged sex slave JP Morgan? Have you seen this story? Have you
Wait,
heard about it?
you're
Okay.
talking about
New York.
No, you're talking about what's her name from Real Housewives?
No.
His ex. The son was
No.
the ex.
No. Well, that they
Sonia
may
Morgan?
be. Yeah, but that may be. So there is this story that is all over the national headlines and international headlines that this executive, this female
Oh,
executive,
yes. You're talking about JP Morgan. Yeah, the
Yeah.
company. I thought you meant
No,
man.
the
Yes.
actual.
Yes, the gentleman who
Did
is
you
now
see the guy-
lying.
Did you
right?
see his picture?
I saw a wide shot of him, but I
Okay.
didn't see his face.
So this I was like, oh my gosh, they show this picture of this beautiful woman. She's a high level exec at JP Morgan, which is huge, right? And they're saying that she forced. He said that
Yeah.
she was forced forced him, who was an underling,
Mhm.
to be his sex slave. And so then I'm like, oh my God, and so again, I believe the media hype fed into it. And then they're saying he's lying. And then I see a picture of, and I'm like, no, she didn't.
Your first thought was I wouldn't have looked twice at him at Ropaho. But wait, everything about that story, it's a page out of that Nicole Kidman movie that just came out last year, where she was having an extramarital affair with her subordinate, and that whole, oh my gosh, pull it up.
So this is I know
the guy.
we are going to get
slave.
better. We are going to get better, and we're going to have like a production crew who's going to pull up it. But this is the gentleman that said that he was forced to be a sex slave. Let me get in there. So this guy, okay. So, and this is the woman. Let me pull up the woman. This beautiful woman. And I'm sure he's a lovely man. I'm sure he's lovely.
It is awful.
And this is the woman.
The way that.
So I immediately was like,
yeah.
I was immediately having a conversation with my husband about her. I was like, who does she think she is? Like, da 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 da. And then, and it's awful. And forgive me if this is judgmental. Forgive me. But when I saw him come up, and I looked at, I was like, bro, no way. Like,
so
it doesn't make sense
because it did, as she described, go viral. So now
she's ruined.
That woman's reputation. Everyone will see the sensational headline about the sex slave thing. No one will see the correction and the retraction. And that's what always happened in the newspaper when they would do a correction and it was buried on the second page under, the editorial board. And then you're like, no one saw that. And so we uniquely understand that because here's they
could throw the correction at the end of the news.
Yeah. And we never corrected anything in television. I mean, we never said the next day, now just FYI, this person's name who we trashed turned out.
No, because it's
it's
that's not salacious. Well, this guy at the center of it, he's already told so many lies. Like he said that his dad passed away.
Yes. And they got a hold of his dad. And the dad said, he's a good guy.
So,
You're alive.
And so, I mean, I was reading the story and I think all my husband could hear me go, what? Like, I was just like, what? But yeah, this woman's reputation is now destroyed.
Yeah.
Just absolutely destroyed.
And that we can, uniquely relate to in a small way because we've had this happen to us. The infamous, someone said that I walked up by Sam's Club and there was a table collecting money for veterans. And I went, and I said, I would never do that.
Right.
One, because I believe in supporting causes like that. But two, how could I be so stupid knowing that at the time I was in a job where she got in trouble for not smiling at the wife of an advertiser? You know what I mean? Why would we invite even more criticism?
Right. We would never it would never happen. It's kind of like when someone said, people will say often, oh, I got this. Amanda responded quite nasty to me in an email. Not true. You know why? Because I'm not an idiot. I know everything is screenshot.
Yeah. You have the receipt.
I'm well aware.
But there's also, it's like you described reading a comment on Facebook when you did that hilarious impression. It's the tone that we can surmise is being is emanating from that email. And if we already don't like the person, then we're going to take it as snarky, you know.
Oh, you mean the email from old girl that was
but
just
I mean,
I do
I'm
not
saying
wish
if
her
they
well.
read your email
Bye.
and you didn't mean it in a negative tone, you were just stating a fact, or you were just being,
Yeah.
you know, then they will interpret it as like, she was so sarcastic in that email, or however people. So a lot of it is just how you want to receive it, right? So, but on a positive note, speaking of people coming up to us, I had the nicest brief conversation at Walgreens last night. A woman named Rhonda Greenwood, and she had a hoodie on that looked like, and it was a Hudson hoodie. Mm-hmm. And she said she has 7 children and she runs a daycare and she watches our morning show. And she said, Tara, how are you doing? And she told me her name, and I heard her last name when she asked for the picture she was picking up for the daycare. But anyway, she hugged me and she said, I'm so glad you're doing well. I've been praying for you. And then she said that she really wants to come to one of our shows. And it was so refreshing just to hear that sometimes everybody's busy and they don't have a lot of time to maybe go out of an evening. So I was like, I'm glad we can connect through the digital world, because since she's running a daycare, she can at least watch the morning show, great, before the kids arrive. So good morning, Rhonda, if you're watching. And it was so nice just to have her hug me in the middle of Walgreens. Right. You know, you're a
hugger.
Yeah.
I mean, I've known you for like so many years.
Yeah. And I think I'm a side hugger a lot. And here's why, because Rhonda is shorter in stature.
Yeah.
So when people come up to my chest, there tends to be the, you know, because I'm right here with my arm. So I'm like right at their neck with my arm. So it was just sweet. So she hugged me around the waist. And it's just like people like that are
remind you that there's good people.
Correct. And when we have been in those public situations, this happens to you all the time when you're like at sporting events, when somebody will say like, is that you? Or, you know, it's like such a nice and refreshing way to engage with a person who's not they're not a stranger, in the sense that they very much know and have connected with us. And then we love to hear that something we did or said at some point resonated.
Right. Last night, so Lucci played in the band this year. This will be her one and only year playing the band.
What did you say the clarinet sounded like?
About some geese dying. It's not like, if you don't know how to, and I play the clarinet and I did not play it well. Right. I only played in the band in grade school.
That is such a girly choice. I played the alto sax.
You did? Okay. You were down there doing this. So
I was in the jazz band in high school.
Okay.
But I was terrible at improvisation.
I was only in the band because we had our band instructor, Mr. Schneider. I cannot remember his name now. He had a truck that was for fries. He has these legendary French fries. He threw vinegar on it, and he also had walk-away sundaes. And if you were in the band at the end of the year, you got a walk-away sundae, and it was like the double cone, you know, with dipped in chocolate with nuts on top.
The walk-away sundae, I love that.
Yeah, so I just wanted the sundae. That's why I was in the band.
Oh my god!
So Lucci last night, Lucci has this thing where, because when we're watching her play sports, we have to like sit like inside like a Scientologist birth. In silence. She doesn't want us to say anything. So she doesn't like Hector, because so like on the sidelines, Hector will be like, come on, Luch, run, like move. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and she hates it. So she doesn't like Hector going to anything. So last night I said, we're all going to go to your concert. She's like, what do you mean everybody's going to go? I'm like, the whole family's going. We're going to support you. She goes, no, I don't want Dad. So Hector comes home. She's like, Dad, I don't want you to go. And he was like, why not? I said, Lucci, he has to go. And she's like, I don't want you to go. And he's like, well, if you don't want me to go, I'm like, you. And I said, why don't you want me not to go? I'm like, it's Mother's Day week. I'll stay home.
Oh my gosh, that is so funny. So he was like acting like he was hurt, but he was thrilled.
She's like, I don't mean to hurt your feelings. I go, you didn't. He's good. Like, so
that is so funny.
You know, when it's like beginners, but this is the one thing I love about the arts, because you take like a 5th grade band. So if it's their first year playing, right? But then you see what the 6th graders sound like. And that's fascinating to me.
That like, they've improved so much.
Oh my gosh. Mm-hmm. So the 5th grade, like, bless them. It was hilarious. Like it was very good. They were very, very good. But then you got the 6th grade and you're like, and we have a small school district. So it's a smaller school district. So we had 5 through 12. So they did a 6th grade and you're like, okay.
That's too many levels though.
No, because it was 2 songs each. Under an hour.
That's good then.
Under an hour. So it was perfect. And then you got to the junior high and I was blown away. I'm like, oh my gosh. Like it
good.
was, and then the high school
They're
was
getting
just
better.
Oh, and then the high school was just spectacular. I mean, because you're just like, because and then you're sitting there, you're like, these are children who are learning to play these instruments so well. Like, you know what I'm saying? But
So you went in there with low expectations and they were exceeded. So
well,
that's
I
really
knew
good.
that the high school, because I've heard the high school, I knew that they were fantastic. And I went in with the 5th grade, and it's, you know, you're sitting there with the playbill like over your head, like face like smiling, because I was laughing because it was just so. And then Gia came, and
That
Gia
was
was
nice.
but she's like, she's like, Lucy's not even playing. Lucy's not.
Oh my gosh. I was going to say that in middle school band concerts, Ken Wiley and Jess Brown and I, the 3 alto saxes, we would laugh so much that we couldn't even blow on the horn. We were like fake playing because we would get the giggles and laugh so much. My high school band, we had 175 people in that band, and we had tons of athletes. So we had like star basketball players who also played the drums, and because that's Gen X. Like we did it all. And it was so sad how everything evolved to where you have to like specialize in band and you can't be in sports. I mean, it's weird today. A lot of kids in big schools, you have to pick, you know? And so for me, the highlight among many was we had our own rap, and the band, we would play this rap lyric, like the tune from the rap. And then we also played when the players came out, we played that what is it again? What is Lone Ranger? We play Lone Ranger, and that was so fun to have those like signature. So like when the band, and now our marching band, you know, was separate from the band that would show up, like the pep band had different kids, but there's something about that collective expression of music when you have a crowd that would then get hyped. And our basketball team was nationally ranked, and so it was like so when people from other schools came, and then we would start that Lone Ranger up, and then it was like everybody like mad respect for this team, you know.
Our high school band, I was not in the band, but our high school band played Glamorous Life.
Oh, Sheila E. That's awesome.
Oh, they
best drum solo ever.
Are you? Yes.
That is so cool.
And so I remember, and then also one of the best bands I've ever seen was Harrisburg High School. And so they would walk down the street, because it was the private high school at the end on Market, Bishop McDevitt, right? And then Harrisburg High School down. And it was huge rivals. We had to get out of school at separate times. There's a lot of animosity there. So when they would play, and we had to have our games, since we were in downtown Harrisburg, they had to have games Saturday mornings. Saturday mornings were our home football games. So Harrisburg High School, the Cougars, they would have their drum line lined up across Market Street, and they would walk to the game to play us with their football player, these big old boys with their helmets still on, and they would do that drum line like that.
Oh, I mean, that is so cool.
Like I get chills thinking about it. And I mean, my dad would get me there, or we would get there early. Like I wasn't allowed to drive by myself for the Harrisburg McDevitt game because it was like too contentious.
Oh my god.
And even I had my license, my dad would be like, you're going with me.
Oh,
and so we would go in, but yeah, like there's something about the drum line.
Our drum line also was spectacular, and we would practice before school or during our
best sound,
our period, whatever, out in the neighborhood streets, and the neighbors loved it. And we would play "Taking It to the Streets," Doobie Brothers.
Oh,
and that was cool.
That's
when
a good
out
one.
Marching in the street.
Yeah, that's a good one.
And I remember one time I had on my 90s, late 80s, 90s, like set, and it was like the sweatshirt, cropped sweatshirt, and the mini skirt, and my white flats. And I remember,
those are coming.
Why did you wear this for band practice?
Because
I was freezing, but I had on my like cropped sweatshirt, my mini, and my flats.
It wasn't about comfort. It was about look.
It was about look.
It was about look.
You know what color it was? Mint green.
Oh God, yeah. Those are all coming back. You know the sets are coming back.
And the shoulder pads.
I think we should do it. I would love a good shoulder pad.
Same, because when you're
because
like
it makes sure
and you have more of a womanly figure, we have hips. it's nice when your shoulders are rounded out.
I cut them out. I had cut a lot of my shoulder pads out because it was
it was too much. It started to cross into like, Joan Collins.
Well, it reminds me, I remember
Evans.
Goldie Hawn in Overboard when she was like, watch him. And then she gets stuck and she does this with the shoulder pad. Like, I love that movie, but I love a good shoulder pad, like from Baby Boom. Diane Keaton.
Yes.
All her suits.
Yes. All the 80s classic movies.
I do have to say, I have to leave shortly. I'm leaving the set. If we had a commercial break, I would have snuck out during the commercial break. I have, an annual meeting that I have to attend, that I'm not saying I have to attend. I am blessed to attend because I'm very appreciative, but it is falling on the day of my daughter's senior awards. Mm. Here's the thing that's hilarious.
The sacrifices you have to make as a working mom.
It literally is true, right? It's true, but it's so funny. The school district never has one thing during the day.
And today was
not one thing during the day, like the whole year. Not one of the 17 concerts that we've been to, right? Mm-hmm. Not one thing during the day. The one thing that's during the day falls on the exact day. Like, it's just, I had like a horrible mom guilt, and I got a migraine because I was so worried about it. And I'm like, Gia, I have to tell you something. I'm so upset, like, because I don't miss anything. And she looked at me and she's like, it's literally no big deal.
I think that also,
thankful.
Yeah. And I think that also speaks to, she's at the end of
the
road, and
you've
been
Boys to Men.
Everything,
So this is what's crazy, because in that book that she wrote, and she says, there's one, it said like, it's like, there's one thing I know for sure. And then it, for her to fill in the blank, and she filled in. She's like, that you will always be in the crowd. Mm. And I was like,
that's very sweet.
And so then I'm like, except next Wednesday.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
But
it made it worth it for you then.
It
just
did.
To see that how much that meant to her.
Because
to know that.
Thank you. Yes. And because you know this too. Tara and I had to miss so much of our kids' lives at a really, really, impactful age. Mm-hmm. Like Tara and I, we weren't home for dinners. We had to choose. Do we want to stay for dinner, or we want to stay for bath time? Because we can't do both. We have to get back. Right. Like, we weren't allowed to. I was rarely allowed to come home for dinner. And I'll say when I moved to Iowa and worked in television news, because my boss at the time, somebody needed to stay in the newsroom. And by somebody, he meant one of the main anchors. So I had to stay in the newsroom. And I will never forget, this is the moment that I knew I had to leave. There was a art show at my kids' school. So Gia was in, Gia was probably in like third grade, around that third grade. And then Nico was younger. He was in kindergarten. And they were talking to me about this art show before they left for school. Promise me. I said, I promise I will be there. I promise I will be there. And the art show ended, I think, at 7:00. So I told my boss at the time, I said, I have to leave right after the 6th. I have to get to this art show. Very long story. He called a meeting, a mandatory meeting, deliberately after the 6:00 news. So I'm sitting there and I couldn't leave. And people were like, why didn't you just leave? I would have been fired. I could not leave.
Right.
So I remember pulling up to the school, and it was like little after 7, and my kids are piling into Hector's Jeep. And it was like a scene out of a Lifetime movie.
I was just going to say that.
Gia looks at me and she said, you promised me and you still missed it. And it was like, ugh. And I remember thinking, because I wanted to tell her what happened, but she's like a little kid. And I go, you're right. I let you down and I'm sorry. And I cried the whole way back to the station. And then I was screaming and I was like, I hate this job. Like, I was just so mad. And it was that moment. I'm like, what am I doing? Because I was sacrificing my kids' time, all of that for a job where I was being mistreated.
And now we know how fleeting, and I mean, it goes so quickly, because you probably look at Gia and you're like, I can't believe that you're this old now, It
literally happens in a blink of an eye. And when people tell us that, and, in honor of Mother's Day, people tell us, if you're going through the struggle, it's like they're telling us in the midnight feedings, because we're like, I'm so tired, I didn't sleep last night. And people say, you're going to miss this when it's gone, or it's going to go by so fast. And you're like, okay, Sharon, I know. Like, I'm just...
That is so funny that you brought that, you're going to miss this, because there is, of course, a country song of the same name. And there's hilarious TikToks. Have you seen those? Where somebody's screaming, like a kid is having a meltdown in the back. And then the mom was like recording it in the front seat. And she's like, you're going to miss this. And then the kids in the back, right? And I thought that was so true, because it's like, in that moment, you cannot conceptualize how any of this is fun if your kid is having the toddler meltdowns, the tantrums, all the things. but it's what we always reflect on. And this is a sad reality for a lot of you. If you were a busy working mom, especially, you forget. It's like a blur. You forget a lot of the moments because you're just like trying to get them ready and get them out the door and get yourself back to work. And so, I mean, so thankfully, when you think of technology, the videos that we have, I mean, I will watch the videos and then I'm just like, it's hard for me to even put myself back in that moment of how I felt because frazzled. I was so busy.
We were frazzled, and it was, I remember being in North Carolina the one time, and they came and they were giving me a hug, and Nico was just like a baby, and I was like, watch mommy's makeup. I have to go back on TV. I had to. I mean, I think about it, and so I don't like when people do you want to? Would you ever want to have another baby? First of all, shop's closed, and I am not Elizabeth from the Bible, Sarah from the Bible. You know what I mean? Like I'm done. So I want to go back. I wish there was some way to do it. I know that there's not, but I wish I could go back and sit a little longer.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Like it makes me want to cry, but like I wish I could go back in those moments with Gia, all of the kids, but especially now with Gia since she's graduating, and just get on the floor and play with her and not rush to the job and not rush. I just wish I could sit in those moments a little longer. And like my favorite time was when they were waking up in the middle of the night. I never asked Hector to wake up in the middle of the night with me because I thought I was nursing, and I was like, what are you going to do? Watch me? Like, but I love waking up in the middle of the night because that was our time.
Mm-hmm.
It was just that
very
quiet,
special.
It's a very, very quiet time. And I just wish I could go back to that and just sit a little longer.
Yeah. And I think younger kids or younger families today, they appreciate having the time with their children much different than us, because we were in this mindset of like 6 weeks is your maternity leave. 8 weeks is a gift. If you could get even like 8 weeks. And now my stepdaughter, who has our first grandchild, Wrigley, she's taking 3 months, and then her husband is going to do family medical leave. And so I think it's like the first maybe 7 months of his life, he's going to have one of the parents home, and then the 2 grandmothers that live out there with them are going to help watch during Taylor's like return initially to part-time work.
That's amazing.
And so I told her, I said, you will never regret that if you can do that, because a lot of us at that time, especially in our jobs, it was not even an option for us to do a long leave or go back part-time.
Yeah.
It was like, you are going to go back. And then if you got 8 weeks, consider yourself fortunate, because the viewers keep asking, where are you? Did you quit? Did you quit?
And then you come back. I mean, I saw a picture of me the other day when I came back after having Luciana. And you have to remember, I gained a lot of weight with my children, like
same
80 plus pounds with every single one of the kids, not combined. Each child. Mm-hmm. And I remember I was wearing this very form-fitting green dress, and I was like back in it
in the saddle.
And she was a 10-pound baby, and I had like, it was like 3 weeks later, I'm back on the set, and it was just crazy. It's interesting. And it's, I read something the other day, and it was talking about parents don't like, they were saying like, when you hear people say, to your parents, you have a favorite child, and people deny it. It's maybe you do, but it's not like we are all different parents. Our kids don't get the same parents.
Yeah. That's
and true. I read that, and I was like, that is so true, because if you think about it, like we were different with Charlotte and Gia because it was our first. It's one-on-one. The second comes, we're not completely solely focused on, because now we have a toddler as well. And then it was like,
that's
so,
right.
And it's really funny because Gia, she says to me, she's like, oh my God, if I say anything about Nico or Aria, here you come. Well, first of all, Aria's getting away with everything. I'm letting you know, because Mom was tired.
Yes, that's exactly right.
I was 40 when I had Aria. I am tired. You want to eat ice cream for breakfast? You do you, boo-boo. Like, sure. It's not because she's Mommy's tired.
Well, and I have had the realization when my husband had our son, when we had our son, he was 48. And when I was then 48, I was like, I can't believe you had a newborn at 48.
Yeah.
Because he was like so hands-on, because I was still a news anchor at the time. I mean, and I remember he would take the kids every day in the summer, being a teacher. There or they are only like 26 months apart, he would take both of them every day to the Falls Aquatic Center. And he said Charlotte would go down that elephant slide there like 50 times.
Oh, God.
And I think back like to how, I mean, I can't imagine how tired I would have been at 48 taking a baby and a toddler to the Falls Aquatic, it's just so I mean, that's the one thing.
That's why
if you have energy and you do have children at an advanced age, like good for you, because by the time I got up there, I was like, there's no way I could have had a newborn.
It's so hilarious though, right? Because mind-wise, I love being an older mom for my younger too, because my give a crap meter is turned off. And like what I used to stress about, I don't. So I'm enjoying it more. Good. Like I'm actually enjoying parenting more, being an older mom. But if you want me to like, I can no longer, I'm not going to go play a game of wiffle ball with you because I'm tired. Like I need my heating pad and my book. Like I'm literally like, I'm ready to be a Nona, not now, but like, I'm like Nona status. Like give me like a grandbaby. Okay. I can come here. Let me hold and cuddle and everything. And I'm going to give you back. Right. Like I could do that right now.
I love that.
Don't get any ideas to my children. Yes, like I don't want to become a grandma yet, but I will. So
7:41. If you're just joining us, Amanda is going on assignment. So that's what we used to say in the news business. So you would leave, and when people were wondering where you were, then the person filling in for you would say they're on assignment. So
which really meant
appropriately, Walter Cronkite named his boat on assignment.
On assignment.
And so then when they said Walter's on assignment, he literally was on assignment.
He was just on his boat.
Isn't that awesome?
Yes, I'm going on.
I'm going a second family.
He probably did.
I think he did. He was on assignment and also had another wife and kid, I think. And I hope that I'm getting that correct. I need to Google that.
Wow.
I mean, isn't that?
That's
it's
right.
Just so crazy.
About it.
It's so crazy how we always talk about this. If you think
don't meet your heroes.
Yes. And if you think about the world today of TMZ and oversaturation of personal lives, there is no way that Marilyn Monroe could have had a clandestine affair with JFK, because you would have had the paps, the paparazzi. I mean, she would have shown up at like the Met Gala, and then people would have been like, she was just with JFK over the weekend. You know what I mean? Like there's no, I mean, and so it's so funny and crazy when you think about how people will say, older people, and we're guilty of this, they will say, time was our president and our first lady, or, you have romanticized them in your head. Like they were these perfect people. And the truth is they too were human, and they were all messy. No different from the modern leadership.
Oh,
everybody had skeletons.
Kennedy was bringing like the women into the pool, like right below where they were all living. And then think about like if we had social media during the Monica Lewinsky era, like Monty would have been like up in the Oval Office, like, look where I'm with Bill. Because it was only interns.
So
because
true.
Remember, like everything was on. The government was shut down.
Monty
Love.
Monty Love. I love it.
But it was so only funny. Like interns in there. It was only interns. So it was the young generation. So imagine the young generation they'd be doing TikToks with Bill. Like, Bill would have been doing like TikToks. He would have been doing TikTok dances,
Bill, I think, would have done anything to get the attention from the youth.
Yeah. So that's a great point. So let's stop romanticizing previous leadership prior to, because we all know
everybody is human. And I
don't and this, I argue with my dad about it all the time. Like I'm not the moral police. And it's like, when you're holding these certain politicians to like a very, very high moral, and I'm like, I want you to like balance the budget.
Right.
Get us lower my gas prices.
Yeah. And we've said this. I mean, when we were younger, we were very much fans of Bill Clinton in many respects. And it had nothing to do with all of the personal faults. I mean, so it's like, and that's a really good point. Like, and let's be clear, when you have coworkers or a boss or somebody that you love on the job, they might not be the best husband and father, you
Right.
know?
I know.
So-
I know. I am so sorry that I'm
Okay,
going
you
to.
gotta go. Have a great
I'm going on
day.
assignment.
Yes,
great
I
day.
will talk to you soon. And I will continue soloing, and I could push the chair over, but I don't want to move it, right? Because I'm too lazy to make the adjustment. But I wanted to share a comment. We really appreciate, especially those of you who have been our regular viewers, and Alice is among them. She said, "Happy morning, you kids that brighten my day. Happy Mother's Day week to everyone. And Linda, wishing you a wonderful, fun, happy birthday. So special. It's on Mother's Day this year. Sad you have to leave, Amanda, but understandable. I have things as others have needing done. We'll finish watching later." And I love how she'll check in and say that she's going to catch the rest of the show later. Everyone has other priorities that need taken care of. We'll tune in later. Wishing you both a safe, happy day. To everyone that's watching the chat, take care. So thanks, Alice. And just thanks to those of you who make it kind of appointment television to watch our live stream, or those of you who catch it later. And just a reminder, you can watch it on our YouTube channel, also called branded Faith in 4-Letter Words. And that's where this simulcast is permanently housed. So on Facebook, we stream live in addition to YouTube, but the permanent episodes are then posted on our YouTube channel, and the Facebook videos are there for a time, and then I think they drop off after like 30 days. So just a reminder, and Amanda would be loving to share her appreciation for this as well. Our new children's book, so the second children's book in the series, Grace is Not Bossy, just came out on our shared birthday last Friday, and it is doing so well. We've had so many people buying the book for children and grandchildren. One of my friends just messaged me and said she's going to give it to her granddaughter, who's got a lot of energy and has that Spitfire nature. And so if you haven't heard about it, Grace is the name of Amanda's beloved grandmother, who really was a formative figure in her life. And then Aria, her youngest daughter, the book's character Grace and how she appears with the somewhat thick curly hair is modeled after Aria. So when you look at the cover of Grace, the Girl with Big Ideas was the initial children's book, and now Grace is Not Bossy. When you see the cover, if you've ever seen Amanda's Youngest, you'll recognize the striking similarity in the way that this character is depicted. So yeah, so that's just been so much fun, and they're available on Amazon. Crazy that we now have 4 books, when, you know, even 2 years ago, just having the thought of being an author was still a pipe dream. And so now we've evolved to this place where we can say we're, you know, a 4-time author, which is so cool. And we have more books in development, which is really exciting. I also wanted to share that we do have our new spring dates live for our upcoming in-person shows. So we had the best time last week at New Aldea Lifescape. If you haven't been to that senior living facility in Cedar Falls, what an incredible space. They have turned part of this area that leads up to where they do performers and live music. It's kind of like a main street, and it's like an indoor main street concept, you know, with a salon and other shops. And what I loved about it, it really reminded me of, if you've ever been in Paris, Las Vegas, the casino there, and you kind of wind down through those shops that had that Parisian influence. It's like that at this New Aldea Lifescapes. Very well done and very nice for us to be hosted and invited there. And we had a really good crowd, and you didn't have to be a resident to attend, but we loved that there were some residents who were then able to just walk down the hall and attend the show. And how fun if you live in a facility where it has all those amenities and you don't have to walk outside. You can just walk down to the shops, walk down to the venue and check out, you know, some live music. It was a great setup. And I think that's the future, right, of senior living, is trying to make it more of a very high quality of life in terms of, you know, those amenities. So I wanted to pull up and just remind you of some of the upcoming shows. So we do have on this schedule the links as well. So if you go to the top of our Faith in 4-Letter Words Facebook page, they call it pinning a post. You can pin a post to the top. I think that word came from Pinterest, to the top of the page. So it's the first thing you see. So coming up next week, we are tentatively planning to be in Nevada at Gatherings, and that one is another space and venue we've heard wonderful things about. The 27th, Osage at the Cedar River Complex, and then in June we head into Waukon on the 3rd, Marengo on the 10th, and then we are back in Reedland on June 17th. And this is our 3rd time being in Reedland, and we've been really excited about the quick surge there in ticket sales, because so much has happened in the past 2 years since we've been to some of these towns. So now a lot of our content and what we share on the road has evolved, especially with what I've gone through with 2026 being one of my most challenging years and seasons for sure. And then we wrap up our June shows back in Monticello at the American Legion. Our friend Whitney wanted to bring us back, and she was so kind to make that happen. So if you are in the area and you want to attend one of our in-person shows, you can check out the list of live tickets by going to faithin4letterwords.com. And then there's a link right on the homepage to click to the Eventbrite links to purchase a ticket, or there's a link atop as well to go to Amazon to check out the book. So had to get those housekeeping notes in during my now solo appearance here to close out the show. Another thing that's been on a lot of hearts and minds of people in Eastern Iowa this week is the untimely passing of Ledger. He was a student in Dunkerton. His sister, Brittany, is somebody that Amanda has been close with for years, and their family. And it just broke our hearts to hear of his passing. He had battled childhood leukemia. And then I believe, if I'm recalling the story correctly, in recent years, a form of cancer had returned, and he was a valiant fighter to try to, just be a kid, also dealing with adult situations and trying to deal and battle what was a very intense health challenge, so much so that he now has succumbed to it. And Amanda likes to say, they didn't die from that. They were a fighter until the end. And I totally agree with that, because when you read about and hear about this young man and how so many have rallied around them, and then I saw the GoFundMe as well is doing really well, which is so wonderful that people are being so generous to take the stress off of the family when you have all of these financial obligations, and yet you're trying to, bury your loved one and go through all of the things that come with somebody's passing. As those of you who've navigated that, it's never easy, right? There's never a good time to have to say goodbye to your loved one, especially when they are so young, in the case of Ledger. So we've been praying for Brittany and the family. We are thinking of the Dunkerton community, and tomorrow, or actually Friday rather, is when they are having the service for Ledger. And I know that so many will want to go there to pay their respects. The thing that's interesting is Brittany's younger son. He is somebody who she would take to spend time with Ledger. And she said that it was very meaningful to her. I saw that she posted this on Facebook, that when they were going somewhere where they normally would have met up with Ledger, the son said, you want to go something to the effect of, I need to pull it up so I don't misquote her, but it was like he said that she had always called Ledger, her favorite guy. And I thought that was so sweet, because it just reminded me of how you don't even realize what you're modeling for the younger generations. And so the love between Brittany and Ledger is something that's so special, that her son very much retained that whole love between them in a way that stuck. So she said, for a while now, when Brody and I get in the car, we head to Dunkerton or somewhere to meet Ledger. But this morning, the last few mornings, we haven't been able to do that. We don't get to do that anymore. So we were on our way to Waterloo when Brody asked, Mom, are we going to see your favorite guy? I've always called Ledger that, my favorite guy, but never directly to Brody, or at least I didn't think I had. Hearing Brody say it was incredibly sweet, and at the same time, it broke my heart into 1,000 pieces. So we are with you, and we are prayerfully asking for God to bring you the peace and comfort that only He can during these trying times. And we just wanted to give an acknowledgement of, the life that Ledger lived, and then just remind everybody who's going through loss that it is something that is so tough to walk through. And many of us, have or will in the seasons of our lives. And, when Amanda mentioned my niece, Ava, and my mother and their special bond, she had referenced in the post the fact that Ava was very young and very much alongside my parents when my father was diagnosed with Lewy body dementia. And as my father started to slip mentally, cognitively, the decline was so rapid. Ava was right there every morning. My mom and dad would take her to school when she was, and my mom still picks her up, and she's now 13, but this was 5 years ago. So she was only 8. And she had, my mom and we had made this poster board where we had the photos of all of our family members and the names. And then Ava would quiz Papa and ask him to recite the names according to the photos on the sheet. And so it was something at the time that seemed just like an important habit to help try to, in some way, allow my father to retain the memories and the recognition of all these loved ones in his midst. But it ended up, we didn't realize how special that was insofar as the way it bonded Ava to my dad, to her grandfather. And so we're grateful that she had that time with him, because she is the youngest of all the grandchildren. So she had to lose her grandfather, much younger than her older brother and my two, her cousins. Loss is so hard in the way that it impacts you unexpectedly. And so that's the thing that we talk about a lot during our Faith in 4-Letter Word shows, is everyone is relieved if a person is no longer suffering, if they've gone through hell, if you will, on earth with all of the things that people go through, be it dementia, cancer, or other ways that illness and conditions can ravage our bodies, our earthly bodies, right? But no one really talks about, I don't think, or articulates well, the hole that is in your heart and in your home, literally, when the person is gone. And so when you've had a person that you've been caring for years, many of you, where you walk out into the living room and they're no longer sitting there in the recliner, or you go to, as my mom has said, the grocery store to buy a snack, only to recognize, oh, I would only buy that for the person who has passed away. In one case, she had to run out to the car. She was overcome with grief in that moment and abandoned her cart. So I think we forget about how the hole that's left is very prominent when you think about their absence from all the daily habits and routines that you've become so accustomed to them being, in many cases, the center of, right? If you're a caregiver. And I just have a heart for caregivers, having seen my mom become one and thrust into it instantly with one diagnosis. And so I am on a mission to really honor the widows and the caregivers among us. And it was an unexpected journey that came through this show and this sort of outreach, to be able to meet caregivers and widows of all ages and stages, as I like to put it, across the Midwest. So almost 20,000 women now, and a lot of men, more women than men, of course, have come to our shows. And it has been the honor of my lifetime, among other opportunities that I've been blessed with. But it has been an honor to be able to acknowledge and recognize these women who walk among us, often feeling like they're in the shadows after they go through such a traumatic loss. And many of you, years of being caregivers, and now, caring for aging parents, or in some cases, children who have special needs. We carry a lot and we are burdened by a lot, but then love wins, in the sense that that's the commitment we've made to spouses and family members, and we are better for it. My sister and I are better because of what we saw our mom go through, and then how she modeled till death do us part in the way that she cared for our father. So this Mother's Day, we will meet you again on Friday to touch base with our Friday group chat show. But this Mother's Day, let's give a prayer and an extra thought to the caregivers and the women who are often doing all the things. They're wearing many hats, because when you become a caregiver, you don't get to give up all the other roles that you have to commit so much energy to in your lives. So I applaud you and I admire you. And I appreciate you letting me share such a personal reflection this morning on the group chat. My verse of the day, we don't have Amanda here to give a 4-letter word, so I'll just end with the verse of the day. Matthew, book of Matthew, chapter 20, verse 28. Just as the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve and to give his life as a ransom for many. So if you're a person of faith, if you're a Christian, isn't it wonderful that Jesus paid it all for us so that we don't have to reflect on all the regrets or the sins of all of our lives? We can optimistically look toward the future knowing that, he paid the ransom for us all. And I think that's something we can rest in, and we can relax in knowing there is a bigger purpose and a plan than whatever little thing right now that seems so important. It's actually probably pretty inconsequential in the span of our lives and how quickly this too shall pass. So have a wonderful Wednesday. Thank you for spending time with us, and continue to be a light for others, as I know so many of you intentionally are. Take care. We'll see you Friday.
Thank you for watching the group chat. The show is brought to you by the empowering staff at Urology Center of Iowa, Tenoyer Gardens, Azalea Lane Boutique, and Splendor the Medical Spa.